hero has been on absolute fire lately. As we've been making this video, according to Aligilek, he's the rank 4 in the world overall. Ever since he came back from his mandatory military service about a year or so ago, he's been steadily climbing through the ranks, and he really doesn't seem to show any signs of slowing down either. So currently, according to Aligilek, the ranking goes Cero in first place, then Raynor, Maru, Hero, Dark, Clem, Rogue, Cure, Solar, etc. Right? The point I'm trying to make, though, is that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point maybe Hero can even overtake Maru for the rank 1 player from South Korea, although I guess he's going to have to win a GSO Code S for that one. We'll have to see how he does in the second season this year. Either way, today it's time for a best-of-5 series of Protoss versus Zerg. We're in game number 1. We find ourselves in 2000 Atmos, and as you may have already guessed, we have Hero in the top right-hand corner. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Zerg drones. Likewise also from Korea. And likewise, he's already completed his mandatory military service. In his case, though, definitely a little more recently, where we're looking at Su's main hatchery. Su is also rapidly improving once again. He's now considered to be the rank 18 in the world, and he's also been sitting at the #1 Grandmaster League position over in South Korea quite frequently, which is definitely something you have to take with a grain of salt, because a lot of the players don't really play that much ladder. But there's no denying that Su is already looking very good again. I think he actually secretly did play quite a bit of StarCraft while he was in the military. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyhow, so I was curious, right? Because I've seen a lot of Heroes Protoss versus Zerg recently, and I don't really remember him losing a whole lot. So I decided to look at the statistics, right? So if we look at tournament games alone, since the very 1st of January, and then specifically the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, Hero has won 70% of his games, which is a very respectable win-loss ratio at the professional level in tournaments. However, if we change that date, right? So rather than the very 1st of January, you would change the date to the 1st of May. In Protoss versus Zerg, in tournament games alone, Hero has roughly 86% win rate. Now, obviously, that's not a very large sample size, because, I mean, that's a relatively short amount of time. He does play in a lot of tournaments, so maybe, you know, it's not too awful. But it does show that whatever Hero is doing lately is certainly working for him. So when the new multiplayer patch first went live a little while ago, we saw a lot of Protoss players experimenting with like double Stargate Phoenix. We saw Hero going for a lot of like disruptor drops and a whole lot of shenanigans. But it seems that the strategy that we've settled on over the last month or so is a mass gateway style. So you still usually open up with a Oracle or two. So that's exactly what he's doing right now. There was a Phoenix produced as well. Probably just hunting down those overlords and trying to deny whatever scouting he can. But then you use that Oracle to leverage your way into a very quick third Nexus. And then as a follow-up, you make a ton of gateway units. So remember that style that we saw Hess and then also Nice playing quite a bit over in Taiwan? This is like 2 years ago. They would basically sit around on like 4 gases and then go for a very, very quick 4th Nexus and sometimes even a really quick 5th Nexus. That style has now made its way to the pro scene as well over in Korea. And it seems nearly unstoppable. It seems that a lot of the Zerg players right now are struggling in this matchup, which is pretty cool because for the longest time, Protoss has always been this race that's dominated around, you know, fancy units, right? Like you kind of need to get your high tier units out because I guess the Protoss Marine version, or the Protoss... Okay, this is a little bit sloppy. That's because of the Stasis Ward in the main base. Anyhow, like the Marine and the Zergling, right? They are far more flexible early game units, and the Zealot really never has that that title, I suppose. It's like a solid, well-rounded early game. But it seems that Protoss players have figured out a way to make it work. 3 Overlord kills right here on 1 Phoenix would be absolutely amazing. That is the best you can hope for. Oracle needs to be very careful. Decides to go in for 1 more Stasis Ward. Is he going to finish that off? Oh my god, he does keep it alive. Ooh. That was beautiful. Lifting up the Queen right there as well to prevent it from shooting that final spine at the Oracle, and the Oracle does manage to get out. There's still 1 in the corner, though. Anyhow, I don't know if Hero is going to be playing that style, but judging here by the fact that he decided to go for the Blink as well as the +1 ground weapons, I think he's going to be making that transition. Okay, there's the gateways going up. So you use the Oracle to go for a very quick third Nexus at about the 4-minute mark. And then I've seen some Protoss players even taking a 4th Nexus by like 5 minutes. Maybe that's a little bit extreme. Hero opting for a couple more gateways first. But I think he is going to be going for a very, very quick 4th. Now, we'll see how practiced Su is against this. It's very popular right now as well at DreamHack in the qualifiers and the tournament and all that, so... Look at that. 6 minutes into the game, Protoss has decided to go for a 4th Nexus, right around the same time as Zerg decided to go for a 4th Hatchery. Now, the reason why that's interesting is because Zerg has always been the race that outexpends the Protoss, but it seems that with clever... yeah, structure positioning and shield batteries and those aggressive openers with the oracles and stuff, you can skip a lot of static defense at the 3rd and just spend that money on a 4th Nexus instead. So now Blink is going to finish up together with the +1 ground weapons, and that's going to allow hero to really start laying down the hurt over here on the other side of the map. Now Zerg obviously can counter this. That's one of the reasons why we see a lot of +1 melee researching quickly right now. Because Blink Stalker is such a popular unit, it's, yeah, not a surprise to see a lot of Zerglings added into the mix, but obviously the follow-up after going Blink Stalker is pretty much always Charge, and then Zealots are obviously not going to be that good of a unit to go, or, I mean, they're going to be amazing for the countering of the Zerglings, but for the Zerglings, they're not going to be as sweet. Right? From the Zerglings' perspective, that is. Did that sentence make any sense? I think it made sense. Anyhow, here we go. Aggressive push. Now this is 7 gateways, there's 2 more coming up, +2 is already researching right here for Hero 2. Since there's no creep spread in this area, the Stalkers can actually get close enough to still poke and prod right here at that hatchery. He's even going for a gateway in the middle of the map, look at this. So we're gonna go 10 gateways at the 7.5 minute mark. 4th Nexus is done. Only gas is taken in the main base and then also in the natural. 3rd base and 4th base are gasless. And you just warp in as many units as possible. Now, I do think that the charge upgrade there is a little bit late. Either that or he thought he could maybe already snipe this 4th base. Anyhow, with a little bit of chrono boost, you can usually get that upgrade done pretty quickly anyways. Stasis wards are amazing here too, so if Zerglings decided to go around the site to try and, yeah, go in for a wraparound, you can prevent that from happening properly. That being said though, Su's doing a good job holding onto the base. I would love to see a creep tuber, just to try and make this a little bit harder for the Protoss. +2 has started up as well as the Baneling Speed upgrade. That Baneling Speed is mostly just anticipation for those Zealots that will likely be following this up. But it's just mass Stalker. We're 30 Stalkers, well I guess 29 right now, Stalkers into the game. This gateway over here is going to allow him to rapidly reinforce this too, so no reason to go for a robo facility. You can get your detection out of oracles with their revelation. And this is one of those attacks that seems to be something that Zerg players are struggling against. Isn't it funny? Like, this is such a basic attack. It's not really Protoss rocket science, right? We've seen a lot of Protoss players trying to go for like a lot of sneaky openers and a lot of, you know, cheeky little builds here and there. But it turns out, good old mass gateway, and he's been playing this in like 90% of his Protoss versus Zerg lately, so I guess he really believes it is the way to go. Oh my god, now even the Ravagers got caught too. Baneling's trying to connect right now with those Zealots, but with the Ravagers gone, the 4th hatchery will be dead. There we go. Game number 1 goes easily in favor of our Protoss. Alright, now is this build order unstoppable? Probably not. There have been many instances in the past in StarCraft 2 where a certain build looks a little bit too powerful, and then it takes a little while until the opponents figure out how to deal with it. But at the very least for the time being, it seems that the mass gateway approach is a very strong one. Anyhow, game number 2 is on Hardwire. Hero once again opting to go for that Stargate here after getting that Cybernetics core up and running, together with a Nexus on the low ground. Very standard start here from the both of them. Zerglings are out right now, so they're going to be able to push that probe away, make it so that the 3rd hatchery goes unscouted. There's definitely a chance, for example, that we could see very, very quick early game upgrades from the Zerg. Those melee upgrades really do make defending against those Stalkers quite a bit easier, so if you can, for example, rush those out, since you usually get a lot of links, it is quite amazing. I'm not entirely sure, though. There have been those strategies in the past where, yeah, seemingly when they first were, I guess, discovered. Is that even the right way of saying it? Because, like, Mass Stalker is not really, it's not really rocket science, right? Like I said, anyways. When they were first around, it was quite difficult to figure out how to scout them and how to deal with them. But it seems that, yeah, over time, those strategies usually became a non-issue. There have also been builds in the past, though. Like, for example, when StarCraft 2 first released, where, yeah, the unit values were just way off. And, you know, Blizzard had to come in and swing the nerf hammer, but it's definitely far too soon for that. I think in general, whenever like a new build comes around like that, you probably need to give it at least a good amount of time. Probably at least like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months. And then maybe we can start talking about making balance changes. Because I know a lot of people will be very quick to judge those kind of openers, but this is just the next step in StarCraft history, it seems. So pretty much an identical build once again. Third Nexus acquired just off of a Phoenix alone. This is definitely something that the Zerg could have punished, but just because there is a Stargate out means that there could also be a Void Ray or an Oracle or something along those lines. And if you start making blind Zerglings, and it happens to be, I don't know, like for example an Oracle, you basically made a bunch of dead Zerglings, right? You're not really going to be able to make a lot of use of them. So Phoenix first, while definitely a little bit risky, because of the way that the matchup works and because of the way that the meta works. Actually, did he go for an Oracle first? I wasn't paying very close attention there. Maybe he did. Anyhow, it's still fine. Anyways, he decides to now follow it up in the exact same way once more. Twilight Council and a Forge. And we'll see when he decides to now go as well for a 4th Nexus. So last game, I think we saw it at about, I don't know, 6 minutes? Something like that. I've literally seen some Protoss players, though, play like a super greedy game, and then now already, before going for these additional gateways, they will go for another Nexus. Now, I think that's probably a little too much. Ooh, okay, he decided to mix it up. He was researching Blink initially, but now he decided to cancel and go for Charge first instead. Similar approach. All the roads do lead to Rome eventually, but it does mean he's going to go for a more gateway-heavy style. Still, 4 gases here in total. And there's Templar Archives. Okay, so this is definitely going to be a little bit different. It can still end up with a very similar unit comp, but I think for now he'll probably focus primarily on Zealots and Archons. If it would be a very Zergling-heavy focus here from Sue, and maybe that's the reason why herO's decided to mix it up. If it is going to be a very Zergling-heavy focus here from Sue, that obviously might not necessarily be ideal. Alright. If you go for so many Zealots, though, can you go for such a quick 4th hatchery, or sorry, a 4th Nexus as well? Normally we see that one acquired right over here. Nice and aggressively forward as well. Anyhow, charge is finishing up in about 10 seconds. Yep. So basically, when that first upgrade finishes, be it charge or be it blink, that's the moment at which herO thinks about going for a 4th base, and that just so happens to be around 6.5, 6-ish minutes into the game. It's going to be a Spire here from Sue this time around. He's got Roaches coming up. Stasis Ward over there will be denied. 4th hatchery happening here right around the same time too, man. Okay, maybe this hatchery is a little bit quicker, but honestly, that's a lot of Zealots. Then again, that's a lot of Queen energy available too. Transfuses should be able to keep most of those Queens alive for the time being. He does have Force Fields. No Ravagers yet that I can see. Zergling going in for the counterattack. They're going to have to morph. Yep. Those High Templars, that is, into an Archon. No recall available, so I think it will be picked off. Okay, nice little snipe right there by those Lings. And it looks like Sue managed to keep that 4th hatchery. No, never mind. He canceled it and he remade it. I thought he managed to keep it alive, but he was forced to cancel. So now it mostly comes down, I guess, to the Mutas. How much damage can he deal with those? Blink is coming up. It's going to be a long while until that one's done. Looks like the Oracle in the corner also ended up getting picked off. Another cancel forced right there on the 4th hatch. So the Mutas are definitely not going to be great at fighting those Archons head-on, but what they can do very, very well is just flying around, right? They can just go from mineral line to mineral line and make it very hard for a Protoss player to actually get that economy going that they really need in these sort of openers. He's got a photon cannon over here at the 3rd base. There's also one over at the 4th, although not in the mineral line. The main base and the natural are looking pretty wide open. 6 Mutas available. I don't think that the Phoenix just scouted it. This would be the time, though, if you wanted to, right? Even if you go for blind units. Yeah, this would be the time to go for some static defense. I actually quite like this little wall-off that he made over here, too. Making it hard for any potential Zergling run-bys to go in. Alright, now Mutas go into the main base. Maybe this is the moment where Sue can deal a little bit of counterattack damage. 2 probes, not ideal yet. Stalkers don't have blink. Yeah, he does have 2 Phoenixes, though. They're going to be pretty good. Okay, Blink is going to finish up in, well, 5, 4, 3, And once they're done with their blink research, I can imagine that it's going to be quite a bit easier to defend against this. But you can see that at the very least for a little while, the pressure that was on Su this entire time on his side of the map has been alleviated. Although I love these double Phoenixes, man. They dealt so much damage. He's going to go for another Phoenix just in case. I think it was just one group of mutas to try and deal some harassment. Make sure you grab that map control back. But here comes the pain train. So 10 gateways in. 4 gas geysers in. 4 Nexi. 2 Archons leading the charge. There's also 2 sentries with full energy. Okay, Guardian Shield already activated. You know what? I like this position for Su quite a bit better than in the previous game. The creep spread is so critical, right? It's one of those things that's easily overlooked, but without creep, how exactly are you gonna, properly defend these sort of armies? It's really hard to do, so I like this. Push back that Protoss army, get some more creep going, and try to... Since there's no detection available in his army, right, other than oracles, try to push that creep as far forward as possible. Try and force the Protoss player to transition towards, like, a robo facility, and then... Eventually, you could probably hold it, but this is a very dangerous time. Su decides to go now into an infestation pit. Going into a hive, definitely not a bad idea. So, in the past, the ultimate ground armies from Protoss have always been Archon Immortal Zealot based. Right, with some Storm for support and all that. And you can absolutely trash those unit compositions with Brute Lords. Zealot's going in for a huge run by the way. Splitting off from that Stalker army. They're going to start working on some of the drones and maybe even the hatchery. Yeah, these are... Are they already? No, they're at +2. I thought they were already at +3 there for a second, but he decided to go for an armor upgrade first. Anyways, a couple drones end up going down here together with the hatch. Not bad whatsoever. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at, right? In the past, you could go Brute Lords, and like 8 Brute Lords would do very, very well against those Protoss ground armies. But if it's very Stalker heavy, I can't imagine you're going to need, like, I don't know, more than a dozen. More than a dozen Brute Lords, that is, and that might just be a little bit too expensive. Plus, obviously, you have to spend a lot of time morphing into units and then awkwardly sitting there with Corruptors that can't do anything in the meantime, and you have to save up money. As long as Protoss is aggressive, it's going to be hard to make that call. Either way, while we've been looking at those fights, hero has been happily expanding. He's got a 5th base done, 6 Nexus already coming up, still only on 4 gas geysers. +3 ground weapons, researching. Supply-wise, though, this is looking definitely very, very nice right here for Su. Still so much damage being done. I say that. It's not actually that many workers. It looks like a lot of workers, but those Zealots obviously aren't free either. 54 Zealots have already gone down. Inefficient trading here so far for hero, but since he's matching his opponent's economy just fine, it's really not that bad. Storm is done. Natural transition. The Roaches don't really care that much, though. Okay, Banelings are finally starting to roll through, and a couple of those units will be picked off. Ravagers over there on the right side, trying to kite against all of those Zealots. Banelings rolling on over in that direction, but it looks like Protoss managed to get back to safety. Zerg really needs to go into +3, and I think Adrenal Glands. Those Lings need to pack a punch. That may actually just be the counter, yeah. Okay, so +3 to get... Yeah, okay. Accidentally predicting the future here. But it makes those Zerglings so much more powerful. This gives them about 40% more attack speed. This gives them additional damage. Once that's done, against not a whole lot of armor upgrades, I think that those Zealots are probably just going to be destroyed by Lings alone. Well, not in these numbers. Alright. One nice thing about this, too, for Protoss is that you don't really need to pay attention that much to your Zealot one-buys. You can just kind of send them in. They will pretty much always trade reasonably well. So you can really focus most of your attention on microing those Stalkers and High Templar. Okay, that was very expensive there for Su. Like, that looks like a decent trade, but it really isn't. That was like 2 dozen Banelings there for like 3 Stalkers and some shields. Still no Observer, though. There we go. Finally, an Observer is coming up. So, nearly 13 minutes into the game, an Observer is finally building. Isn't that wild? So, he's preventing the Zerg from just spreading everywhere by, yeah, just being non-stop aggression. Like just hitting the opponent in the face the entire time. We're now at 14 gateways, and hero is just trying to warp in unit after unit after unit. Now, Su is holding just fine, though. Sure, he's taken some damage. Sure, he's lost some drones. Sure, it's focused a lot of actions per minute out of him. Yeah, going up to about 10 buttons a second there. But he did manage to hold, and now with +3 and Adrenal finishing up, I think he's gonna have an easier time. Okay. Every time he warps in, he loses so much money. But these trades are all really nice. Those Zealot run-bys are absolutely lethal. New base coming up in the bottom right-hand corner. Expansion on the left side of the map will likely fall. Huge amount of Zealots over here, though. Yeah, so this is the new mass gateway style that a lot of Zerg players have been struggling with. For the first time in StarCraft history, it seems that Protoss early game units actually are good. Not that they've received any buffs or changes or whatever. I guess you just need to make sure you get your forges going really quickly. I know that Haas and Nice usually go double forge with this, and they research the hell out of those units. I wonder if that's even an improvement here, but I guess hero really wants to have as much money available as possible to try and, yeah, just destroy the opponent's units with, well, his own units. Great Aspire is coming up. Protoss is making a transition towards Archon Immortal Zealot now. But normally we see this sort of army played off of 70-something probes, and now hero is sitting at 91, and that is a huge difference. Still only 4 gases, though. So maybe whenever he's got gas, he's like, okay, I guess I'll add on a couple Immortals. Anyhow, big fight right here in the center of the map once again. Looks like Protoss is going to be cleaned up here. Yep. Overextension right there from hero. Su doesn't have a lot of money, though. Like, he's got a lot of money in the bank, but he's only got 67 workers, which really isn't that much. Okay, should finally be able to kill that base. More Zealots moving on over towards the right side of the map, and that's why the Zerg army was pushed back. Yeah, just the threat right here of these Zealots going in is apparently enough to force the entire Roach Ball to go back home. Alright, once Broodlords are out, though, I do think that things will probably be a bit easier right here for Su. But he really needs to have like 10 gases going. Like, he really needs to have those gases up and running to properly make that transition. So he's afforded a Great Aspire, but he hasn't been able to go for any Corruptors here or... Yeah, and hero is not going to slow down. He's now got the base in the bottom right-hand corner up and running. He's at 97 probes. He's still, I think, at 14 gateways. Yeah, so he's just going to be able to warp in 14 Zealots at once. Now they're going to be coming out of a prism as well. If you're not giving him any time, I don't think the Brute Lords are going to be coming out either. He can't even really afford them. Now, what exactly would Serral be doing, right? What would a Raynor be doing against this? I feel like they probably would be going for a very heavy Baneling run-by as well. So trying to slow down that Protoss economy. I would have loved to see moves like this from Su quite a bit sooner on into this game. Su-Uner. Alright, that's 10 probes, not bad. Zerglings on the left side of the map, though, do get cleaned up as well. Here's the army once again in the middle of the map. This time around, there's Immortals in the mix, and 3 Immortals is definitely enough to start working, or 4 Immortals even, to start working on those Roaches. They, of course, deal bonus to Armored, and Roaches are Armored. A couple more High Templar, 9 more Zealots. Okay, a few more Archons, and here we go. Wave number 74. Hero has been absolutely relentless with the aggression. Now he's suddenly got a 40 supply lead. Not that long ago, Zerg was 50 supply up. So I guess those traits, even though some of them have been questionable, they have been working out rather well right here for the Protoss player overall. The Banelings, oh god, rolling into those Archons. That's exactly what the Protoss player wants. Hatchery here goes down. Additional units once again being warped in. Su has a lot of money available, but not sure what to make. I would love to see him try get some Brute Lords out, man, but I don't know if he's got the time. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of larvae, right? So, like, he's been spending a lot of his larvae on trying to get Zerglings and Banelings going, which is nice. But while Zerglings and Banelings are cheap as far as resources go, they're very expensive as far as larvae goes, right? Which is like a third resource. He doesn't really have a lot of queens. Or at the very least, he hasn't been hitting all of his injects. That's for sure. Creep right now pushed back very nicely. Hero at this point scouts the amount of mining in the top left-hand corner and should be pretty happy with it. Okay, when you start biling randomly to try and kill observers, you know, you're starting to be a little bit desperate. Hero once again going in. A gajillion Zealots. On the right side of the map. Immortals working on the hatch. He's got another Nexus building once again on the left side of the map. Additional Zealot warping right there on the left side of the map too. Another hatchery will be killed. Would like to see a recall. Yep. There it is. GG. Game number 2 does go in favor of the Protoss. Such a huge contrast in this matchup from where we were about a half year ago. A half year ago, all we saw was just mass Void Ray into mass Carrier, where Protoss is sitting back and doing as little as possible, just trying to turtle up to their maxed out army. And now suddenly hero is going for the most aggressive stuff imaginable, right? Like, this is basically as aggressive as you can reasonably play Protoss. Other than, I guess, proxying 4 gateways on the other side of the map at the 1 minute mark, right? Like, that is, I guess, the most aggressive version of a gateway-based push you can go for. But this is like a macro-focused edition of this. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we're gonna see like a merger of those two styles, where initially we have a very focused army around Zealots and Stalkers, and then if the game goes to distance, that's the point at which Protoss will usually, I imagine at least, then transition towards the Skytle's army. Anyhow, maybe I'm mistaken, but we'll see where this strategy is gonna land. Either way, match point right here for hero. We're on Glittering Ashes. Game number 1, he went for a Stalker-based approach. Game number 2, he went for a Zealot-based approach. In both games, focused around 4 gases primarily. I think he did get additional gases in the previous game at the end, if I'm not mistaken. Anyhow, usually they get it like very late into the game. You know, 15 or so minutes into the game, probably. Don't know if that's triggered for the timing, but maybe when they sort of have to tech up. And then obviously with a very, very quick 4th Nexus too. I do think that's the key, because otherwise you just don't get enough money. You just continuously expand, and rather than spending your resources on static defense, you just keep going. So once again, 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Even before the Oracle is out, hero has already decided to go for a 3rd Nexus. This is identical to what Su has scouted in the previous games so far. Maybe a couple of small deviations here and there. Phoenix first or Oracle first, you know, little changes like that. But in the end, it's all pretty similar. If Zerg go for double Overlord Scouts, which is... There we go. Twilight Council? No Twilight Council. Oh, okay. I was going to say, there is going to be a Twilight Council. I guess he was just waiting until he had the amount of resources. If Zergs go for double OV Scouts, I do think you should pretty much always make a Phoenix. Zergs used to go singular Overlord Scout, but now that, you know, there's quite a... Oh my god. Oh my god. Dude. Nicely done right there. 3 workers in total. Not the end of the world, but... now that Zerg players are opening up with a lot of Robo Facility first and a lot of Twilight Council first as well, you kind of need to go for double Overlords to figure it out. So, I mean, I would like to see a scout on that. Either way, I'm expecting a pretty quick 4th base right here from Hero 2. Just like we saw in the previous game. Probably right over here. Probably at around the 6 to 6.5 minute mark. Chrono Boost without a probe. Probably not ideal. Stasis Ward in the back of the main base. Just buying time. That's, I guess, what those Oracles are really good at, right? Just buying time, being annoying. They're not really expected to deal damage, but they are still slowing down the Zerg. Okay, nice. Nah, Su is doing a pretty good job defending as well, but still 5 drones in total. Not ideal. Alright, there's those additional gateways. There's the blink upgrade coming up. +1 ground weapons. I'm expecting a 4th. How many gateways did he make last game before he started up a 4th? I think he had like 6. Okay, Spire gets spotted there by hero. Okay, Oracle does go down. Now he went 8 gateways, actually. Okay, there's the 4th hatchery of the Zerg. I think he's actually just going for... Oh, I think this is like a full-on mind game. So Su is thinking that his opponent is probably going to play the exact same style he did in the previous game. But now we're up to 8 gateways here in total. Pylon over here at the front. Another pylon over here too. Wouldn't be surprised if he adds a gateway to one of those as well. So it's essentially now a 3-base, 9 gateway push. Is that what we're doing? This is hero playing in his opponent's head right now. That Spire is not what you want. I think you cancel that Spire. But he doesn't know at this point. He hasn't seen that pylon at the front, so he doesn't realize exactly what he's going up against. Now it's just going to be a relentless amount of Protoss units being warped in at a time. Slow warp-ins. I would love to see a gateway. I think that's the right call. Anyways, 8 gateways here for the time being. No 4th Nexus. Corrosive Biles are pretty nice here. +1 melee is going to finish up soon, too. He did let the Spire finish. Zerg once again, though, forced with the queens to the front. He needs to be very careful that he does not run out of queen injects. Because already you can see that he's hitting a bit of a supply block. He's starting to stack up some resources, too. There's the gateway indeed going down. I love it, yeah. Maybe hero wanted to wait until he knew that this fight was going to go decently well and that he wasn't just hard countered before putting down the gate, which makes sense. So this is him going for just a good old 3 Nexus blink all-in. Do we have glaives? Oh no, he didn't get glaives. Okay. He's warping in 8 adepts, which... I guess? They're still gonna be decent against Zerglings. With glaives especially. Ah, I guess this is what we're doing. We're just trying to create kills as well by shading the adepts past that army. Fair enough. Yeah, no wall in at the front, so... that means that Su is gonna have to deal with those adepts, and despite the fact that Zerglings have +1 melee, they're still having a rather tricky time. Now they're in the main base, actually. Yeah. You blink twice, the mineral line is gone. This is not really where the main source of damage is coming from, though. Okay, Stalkers did leave the 3rd base of the Protoss alone for a little bit. They're now working on the 4th hatchery, and it looks like that 4th hatchery is super dead. No creep connecting those bases, so the queens can't come in for the rescue. The Ravager gets target fired down. Another Ravager goes down. Another Ravager, or 2, even gets picked off there, too. Now Zealots have, well... almost got charged. Would love to see a chrono. There we go. +1 armor also starts up. Yeah, it's just mass gateway. Like, it's not rocket science. It's pretty self-explanatory. Interestingly enough, after 12 years of StarCraft 2, it seems that the meta in this matchup has circled back around to this. Obviously, the units are different than they were back then. Charge is not quite the same upgrade anymore either, but now there's gonna be 27 Zealots. Su has not seen them. Well, now he sees them. And as soon as he does, he decides to tap out. Hero ends up winning over Su in a best-of-5 series 3-0. But this is basically how all of his Protoss versus Zergs have looked over the last couple of weeks. I would really like to see some Hero versus Serral or Hero versus Raynor action. I think that would be very interesting.